All right, let's keep going. All right, so today, welcome to the Near Engineering Weekly Status Update, and we're going to go through the burn down chart here a little bit. As you can see that we've been on a steadily rising scope for the entire month of May. And that is not an ideal situation for shipping at the end of May. So what are we going to do? There's a lot of stuff here that needs to be done, and so let's get an update from each of the teams as to what we can do to either pull it in so that we hit the schedule or set expectations so that they're a lot more realistic. I am okay with missing these kinds of dates, like so we've got a deadline of May 31st here, but I do not want to make this a habit, because what this will do is it will reduce the ability for others and our partners in our community in order to believe that we're actually going to ship software on time, and it will destroy our morale overall. So we need to get better at these estimates and refine our ability to estimate appropriately. So here we go. Let's start it off. Let's go the opposite direction today, and go the reverse. So we usually start with the sort of core chain stuff. Instead, let's start the other side. Let's go with the apps. Kendall, you want to go first today?
Yep. 1 second. Share my screen.
Oh, I'll stop sharing here.
Yep.
Yeah. Bingo.
All right. Cool. So yeah, we'll start with the Explorer. It's a little brief today. So yeah, well, a couple of things in the Explorer. We're going to start trying out to get the community more involved and actually fulfilling some Explorer issues, like especially on the UI side for now. So we're going to have an issue that's basically to take each of the active validators' IP addresses and create like a geographical map, so you can kind of see who's validating in the Near ecosystem. Might even be able to do this for non-validating nodes as well, which would be kind of cool as like a fun feature for the community. And then assuming that goes well, I think we'll try to actually roll that out for a lot of other features as well, and really try to just bring external contributors into the Explorer. As far as things that we're working on, like the biggest sort of change is this network indexer. That's going to essentially provide us with a lot of like really exciting functionality and go far beyond just the Explorer itself. Essentially allows like anyone who's interested in specific pieces of Near data to kind of index that themselves by running this indexer on their own and like configuring their own database to kind of do so, which is going to help us on the wallet side, and I think also help some of our external teams. We talked a little bit about that last time, so Bogdan and Fuller we're working on the RPC fuzz testing. I guess we'll get an update on that in a minute, but that was postponing kind of the timelines a little bit. So hopefully just, I think like 2 or 3 more weeks here, and we should see some of the good outcomes of the indexer. On the UI side, the main thing at this point, displaying more data. So we have a plan now, or roughly a plan to display finality. It's actually technically pretty easy. It was more on the UI side that we're trying to just figure out exactly how we're going to organize this. And then working with Corwin to just like rethink how we're displaying data, specifically on the transaction detail page, because it's just a little bit overwhelming. We have kind of a lot that we're just showing it to the user, and not that clear of like a hierarchy of how we do it. So those are the biggest changes that'll be coming. Yeah, also you'll see lock balances sooner rather than later. That's actually a bit dependent on the network indexer. So that's on the Explorer side. Any questions there before we move to the wallet? All right.
Yeah, real quick question. I just want to make sure that have we mitigated all issues that have caused our network to be either stalled, delayed, or bring down any production servers because of Explorer?
That's a great question. Frol, if you wouldn't mind providing your perspective here, I think you're probably more solid on this than me.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what concerns that. Like Explorer has never caused any problems with network.
We had problems with RPC nodes not being responsive. That did happen before. Like when
it shouldn't quite be related to Explorer, as far as I know.
Yeah, it's just related by the way, like RPC nodes couldn't handle the load coming from Explorer. It's not related for Explorer per se, right?
Right.
So I think it's more a question to Bowen, for example.
Well, I don't think we've observed any problems so far. Like I think the problem has been addressed. I think because we have now load balancing and so on.
Okay, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. I just want to make sure that all those issues have been resolved. Thank you.
All right, cool. So on the wallet side, yeah, so I guess like the biggest update of the wallet for everyone who hasn't heard, like we are now planning to use the wallet for the public sale. So this is a pretty massive change in sort of how we've thought about the wallet, where before it was like very explicitly designed to handle small token amounts. And while we had some plans of how we could sort of expand the sort of comfortable or acceptable range of token amounts in the future, we were not actually targeting that to implement that by mainnet, with the exception of ledger support, which is going to be like kind of a mitigation for what was ideally going to be a small number of users that would desire to custody larger amounts. Now, the beauty of ledger, of course, are not actually custodying the wallet, but anyway, all that being said, as we essentially have no other like very good options to for wallets in like by the token sale to like have those integrations done, ready, and to meet all the kind of like restrictions that we have with the transfer restriction phase and like the phased rollout of mainnet. The wallet is now going to be a go for the public sale, and so I'll talk through exactly what that means. So just like a quick segment on kind of what's like been in progress, and we'll probably be shipping some of these this week. Email phone verification. There's a couple of backend changes needed that are just about done. We have PRs out for locked token balances, or at least the first phase of that. I guess a quick note on that is the sort of delegated balances and not necessarily vested balances, though they do become a little bit easier. Basically, once we have those contracts deployed, those become more viable for us to actually display in the wallet. And specifically on the delegated balance, once we have the network indexer working, it becomes a lot easier for us to like actually have that aggregated balance and not have to query like, X number of contracts per number of like validators that have deployed that contract. So the first version will have stake token amounts and like the state stake, and you can see how we're kind of communicating that to users as like a minimum balance. And then ledger support is an important feature that's been in progress. We're just about done with like the add ledger component of this, and then we've submitted the app to Ledger for review. So hopefully we can, I believe we're supposed to get a response today actually on what their sort of timeline is. So that'll make the whole installation process a lot easier. Right now it's pretty scary for even technical users. And then we'll be working on the like sort of using the wallet in like the Ledger only mode. So you won't actually have to have a key in local storage, and you'll still be able to like view your accounts, and then signing with Ledger with that, which actually already works, but we're adding some UI to it because right now it's like basically you have to really know what's happening in order to use it. So it'll make that much easier for the lay user. So that's what's currently in progress on sort of like the pre kind of mainnet side. Moving over to the launch to-dos. So there's sort of like a hierarchy here. There's basically 5 things we absolutely want to do by mainnet. I'd say 4 that are like showstoppers, 1 that we're going to do, like we definitely have time to do it. So essentially working at like right now, the way that the reason about the wallet is, it only really deals with full access keys when it comes to custody. There's obviously the limited access key sort of pattern, but that's actually, that's really been used as like logging into apps, and the app is actually going to custody that key sort of on their side. But since we're going to deploy, the new idea is we're going to deploy a contract for every single account created in the wallet, at least until phase 2, potentially even longer than that. There's a couple reasons for that. One is that most people that have tokens so actually this is now changed to every single like account that's created in this sort of like pre-phase 2 period is going to like rather be a contract, I think even at this point, a lockup contract with varying sort of, parameters as to like the period of the lockup. But every contract will have this, like, that's where the tokens will actually be. They'll be in a lockup contract. And then in the wallet, we're going to deploy a different contract to every single account, at least right now. And in many cases, that's actually going to be like a multi-sig contract. And the reason for this is this is going to allow us to basically implement 2-factor authentication. That's going to be, to start, purely SMS based. And the idea is like what we want to do. So we have like the keys All right, I'm going into a lot of detail here, but I'll make this super quick. We basically have like keys in local storage, which is a problem for security. So we want to essentially make the user have to deal with both the server and a separate device, which in this case will be like SMS based. So generally their mobile device, in order to sign every high value transaction that might actually initially be every single transaction. We're still kind of working through how to do that. Eventually we want that to be only high value transactions, or at least more user customizable. But I think realistically that probably won't be the case to start. So the 2FA is like one of the most important things. Limited access keys, that's just the only way we can actually have this wallet functioning pre-phase 2. So those two things are sort of like absolutely critical. Other things we're considering critical, error handling. I think if you've encountered any of these like timeout issues, which sounds like we've actually fixed more on the Nearcore side now. But basically you can end up sending transactions thinking they were canceled and they weren't. So that's like a critical issue that we're gonna fix. And then communicating security expectations. Well, I guess one other note. So displaying final token balances, this is something that we're planning to do as well, putting it a little bit below some of these other things for various reasons, but I'm confident we'll be able to ship that, or at least like figure out more about whether or not we want to ship that by mainnet as well. So a quick question that I actually have, I saw a note on this, I think for all you posted, but so we were waiting for one of the changes in Nearcore to, I guess, mitigate receiving timeout issues when timeout was not actually the problem and it was actually like a transaction failure or some kind of error. Is that's actually now pushed on the Nearcore side? That's available to us?
So it has been pushed a long time ago. We were waiting for it to land on stable, and so it landed on stable. So what now you can do is you can check whether transaction is still valid. And also you can have another RPC that send the transaction and waited to get into the mempool before returning instead of waiting for it to fully complete before returning.
Got it. Vlad, that's what we need, right, to move forward? Is that right?
Yeah, looks so. So we can probably start testing it on Betonet.
Awesome.
Bowen, do you have any estimate when it's actually gonna land on like testnet?
It's already on testnet.
Oh, okay, cool.
Awesome. Great. I know that was a lot. Does anyone have any questions? Happy to talk through any of that.
So there are still some Stakeforce participants that complain that they cannot recover their account. So it seems the problem is that the account was created on the .nearprotocol.com domain. So do we have some sort of like landing page or some kind of that thing that tell them that if you created your account on the old domain, you probably want to create a new account on the new domain or like something like that, so that people don't get confused.
Generally, it should be recoverable as long as they just replace the main part of the URL.
All right, okay. So that's a great question, Bo. And the answer is yes, we do have a landing page. Vlad, do we end up deploying that to all of the Near protocol? I remember I had to make a couple of changes, but
no, I think we didn't like put it to all of Near protocol domains yet, because I think we need to make another announcement to just like let people know to update URLs in their apps.
Okay, let's offline this. But yeah, Bo, to answer your question, we're absolutely ready to do that. We have a landing page. We at least deployed it to DevNet, maybe not BetaNet, and testnet. But Vlad, we can talk about notifying apps. I think we actually have already targeted. I've already talked to the major ones, but we can figure that out. So yes, we have a mitigation for that. But there's also, I mean, another thing I think we weren't actually verifying that the email was sent, like the emails we were able to hit a user's email or mobile phone beforehand. So once this email phone verification lands, I think that'll at least mitigate. I think there were at least 1 or 2 instances where that was actually the problem. But yeah, the domain was definitely the major problem, and we'll sort that out essentially today or tomorrow, realistically.
So I have a question, Kendall. Thank you, by the way. It's a great update. Mainnet launch to-dos, are there issues for each of those, and can we get those on a tracking chart in ZenHub, please?
Yes, there are issues to those, and yes, I will get those in a tracking chart. That's a to-do for me today.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I think it's going to help overall. I'm asking everybody to do the same. Okay, so let's see here. Next, let's go with any other questions for Kendall? Okay, Alex, go next.
Okay. So there are a few things that's happening. We have several known issues in chain which we're trying to fix. One of them has been known for a while. Specifically, we know that that under load, the node starts behaving sluggish. So for example, if we have a lot of RPC requests or if we have state sinks running, the node can start producing blocks slower or otherwise lag behind. So on that front, Marcelo finished a very, very nice test, which specifically tests the issue with the state sync. So he creates a huge state, initiates state syncs and tries to communicate with the node. And we can see that the node is actually not acting as expected. So that's a big step forward, because now as we try to fix it, we can actually verify if we fixed it. Right, so this test was a big blocker. Secondly, we've had an issue where nodes were crashing with the unknown state consistency bug. So to that extent, back in the day, we introduced more tracing in that case, and last week nodes crashed again. It is unclear if that's the same storage inconsistency bug, but this time we actually have stack traces. Moreover, we can actually reproduce it by just trying to state sync from the same node. So that is also a big step forward. While we don't know yet, well, actually, Bowen was looking into it yesterday. I don't know if he made any progress yet, but as of yesterday, we don't know yet what is causing it, but we can reproduce it. So debugging from here should be possible. It is not necessarily the same issue. So I would not be, even if we fix this issue, I would not be comfortable yet to declare mainnet or rather chain code production ready. Besides that, we're making, there's still ongoing process on testing and stabilizing various components, network, chunk distribution, etc. Finally, there's one more effort right now, which is so we have certain problems with syncing code. Again, some of them have been known for a while. Block sync is pretty slow. Another problem we know is that today chunk fetching goes one block at a time. So until we fetch chunks for one block, we do not start for the next block, even if we know what block it is. And KPR back in the day sent a large PR which was addressing it, and it was very convoluted. So there's no easy way today to address it. Finally, there's a major problem that headers are huge, and producing one header every second, we will actually get to, so Bowen did some computations, and after I think several months, we will get to 100 gigabytes of just header information, right? Not blocks, not chunks, not state, just headers, right? So all of that combined, I think, calls for certain redesigns in how we sync. We brainstormed a little bit with Bowen yesterday. I'm going to send a proposal. I do not suggest we implement it now. I don't think we're in a position to re-implement syncing. I think for now, we will just patch whatever is needed. But medium term, we have to change the way we treat blocks, we sync, etc. Right. So that is something we can also discuss. I moved the research meeting, which is supposed to be happening in half an hour to tomorrow. I think there are other topics people wanted to discuss, but if we have time, we can briefly discuss this as well. Bowen, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, just to elaborate on the point, we will probably have like 6 to, well, depending on our requirements, we might have 6 months to a year of time to implement that syncing. Otherwise, we will get pillaged because it's like no one will be able to store that much data on their node.
And in 1 year, we're looking at like 200, 300 gigabytes of header data, right?
Yes.
So header sync itself will be taking like probably.
It's probably more. I think on the current estimation, it's about 170 gigabytes every 4 months. So like a year would probably be like 500 gigabytes of headers.
But yeah, there's a plan to mitigate it. I will share it probably by the end of today on GitHub. So.
Is this after hard fork, right? Like for each hard fork specifically?
Well, yeah,
or
the problem is that we do not plan to do hard forks, after phase one. We're moving to upgradability solutions. So, unless there's, some major problem with network or network crash or some social consensus needed, otherwise we will not do hard fork, which means that the chain will keep growing forever.
Yeah, so this change in particular, the plan is to implement it in such a way that you can just upgrade into it. Without a hard fork.
It should be every single change going forward as well.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. Max, you want to go next?
Right. So I have the roadmap and timeline open here, which is, I think, the expectations that we communicated initially to our partners and everyone. And I see that my mainnet there is about June, August. So I think we're consistent with our expectations in terms of the delivery of the phase one launch, the way I understood this mainnet. So we are safe there, which is good. As for this burned out chart, I actually did a little bit of update here. So just a small reminder to everyone, please make sure you update in the issues on the GitHub, because currently a lot of stuff I have to do it, and sometimes I might not have the right context in terms of whether the issue is closed or not. So I closed a bunch of issues right before this meeting. But yeah, like going forward, once we are through this crunch with the contracts and the bridge, we need to be more diligent updating the issues and keeping track of them, each of us. All right, the middleware. We are still doing these two large work items, which is the contracts, the core contracts for the audit and the bridge. We made a progress with both of them. With the contracts, as far as I remember, the audit already received the staking pool, the lockup contract. They're reviewing them, and the next two contracts we're going to give them as whitelisting contract and voting contract. I think in that order. Please, Evgeny, correct me if I'm wrong. Regarding the bridge, I'm already working on the token example to transfer tokens from Ethereum to Near. I think it is possible right now. I have written tests, verified it actually works, and so far nothing failed. Moving tokens in other direction, we need Solidity contracts that Anton and Evgeny Kapun are working on. I think you guys have already implemented ET signature verification on Solidity, which was the important thing for this thing to work. And so currently Anton is just finishing the Solidity contracts, both the client and the prover. And Bowen at the same time is adding changes to the New York work. He's exposing the RPC endpoint that would give the proof that we would need to submit. Oops, let me show the list of the items for the bridge. So Bowen is working on the proof extractor, basically, which is an RPC endpoint for the New York core. And once this is done, we're going to be able to test the prover, and we're going to be able to write the token transfer example in the other direction too. Besides that, everything is on track. I think there is a good chance we're going to have token transfer example working from Ethereum to Near this week. There is some chance there is also going to be an example of this working in the other direction. So that's that. We're consistent with our promises that we gave to our partners. The other blockers for the phase one launch, no one is actually working on them like full time. Vlad Frolov is fixing some things related to the error handling and the RPC. And the standalone runtime, as I said already, is in a shape where we actually already use it for the contract testing. And the Epoch Manager is not actually integrated in it, but it's fine. We have some code that mocks it. It says that you can read this report yourself, this notes yourself. Nothing much is happening else there. There are two documents that I've shared with the team. One of them was about the proposal to split middleware sync into more meetings that are shorter, that come one after another and happen all on Friday, and bundle it together with the bridge, because currently Anton is actually discussing bridge in 2 meetings. And I also suggested to bundle RPC discussion with Explore. So please go and check those issues. I'm gonna share with you those issues again. And that's pretty much it on the high level. You guys have any questions?
All right, thank you, Max. Okay, I think that's it for updates from the teams. And last thing I want to do is I want to ask a question. One of the things we're trying to do is increase communications overall to everybody, internal, external, everybody, right? So we're trying to bubble up decisions that are made during the week, and also just between engineering meetings in a way that's meaningful to everybody else, so they know exactly what's going on. I'd like to ask the question to everybody here: has there been any major decisions that have been made over the past, well, since the last meeting that affect everyone? A good example of that is exactly what I shared earlier in the first part of the meeting, is that we're actually going to create burn down charts for each of our partner integrations. And that is a definite change from before, because we want to help set expectations with everybody that we're delivering software on time, and we want to make sure that all our partners are supported. Are there other decisions that have been made so far in the past 5-6 days that you want to bubble up and make sure that get communicated out? And by the way, this would go out into our community updates and also written news reports and stuff of things that are going on inside of Near. Are there anything that anybody would like to announce as major decisions?
There's something I would like to say. So for the reports we are generating for the releases, we are automatically extracting this. We are extracting like what's happening in every release from the issues. So if you could tag your issues with, like, I don't know, chain, network, make sure that like all the issues are tagged, so we can extract this information automatically instead of like going through every issue or commit, if that makes sense. So essentially just add a label to the team, or if it's a bug, add a bug label, etc. So that's the only ask I have, if that's fine. If anybody has something against it, please feel free to share as well.
So we had an idea to have a template for commits. So all our commits should follow the style. So they have those markers already, like feature, bug, refactoring. But not all of them, probably.
Yeah, I'm referring to issues. So essentially what I'm doing, I'm not actually looking at the commits, I'm looking at the issues. So if there's like an issue which is a bug, add a label bug. If it's a chain feature, add like feature chain labels, etc. So we have for like most of them tags and labels, but we don't have for all of them. Like it would be nice if we had it for the major ones. So if it's like something, it's a big epic, just add, I don't know, epic, and then network, epic, staking, epic, whatever. So we can just track what's being released in every bi-weekly release, essentially.
So we release the pull requests, and pull requests ended up to be a commit squashed into a single commit with the proper tag, like feature, bug, and which like chain or RPC it was. So we don't need to mark issues, in my opinion. And also,
okay, so if that's done by the pull request, I didn't see that that we tag them. Okay, cool. But essentially,
well,
yeah.
I mean, Fro is saying that it's not about tagging. Fro said the commit message should contain the nature of this pull request, but that thing's not enforced right now. We cannot fully rely on that as well. So, yeah, I mean, like it seems to me that tags are like better unless we want to enforce some rules on the commit message of the of pull request. I mean, otherwise
we can add a CI, like in CI rules
yeah,
that
we
checks
can, yeah.
that it matches regex. I mean, I think the question here is like, do we want to account for issues fixed and resolved, or for pull requests that are merged? That's pretty much the question, I guess.
Yeah, it seems that issues should be better, because I mean, like, you don't want to account for like pull requests that fix a typo, right? For example, it seems like issues track better in the sense of what's actually being achieved on a higher level.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think like you'll have like sometimes 5 commits for one issue, and like it's one issue is like, I don't know, changed blah 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 something. So I agree it would be maybe better if we track it in issues instead of commits. I agree with Bowen. I don't know if it makes sense to everybody, but I don't mind. Either ways is fine with me. But
yeah, makes sense to me. I think we have done a good job, and we have most of the labels to the issues already. I rarely find an issue which is not in the new issues list, which has no labels. So if you find any, just ping somebody and we'll assign.
Yeah, I just wanted to like raise that. I can go do the pinging. I just wanted to raise that like,
yep,
we depend now on this tagging, so we can extract like what's going into the release or not. So I just wanted to raise that, and like, yeah, I can go and ping people around as well if I see some issues. Not a problem.
So another thing I wanted to raise is that upgradability, like a smooth upgradability is coming, which means that backward compatibility will be enforced going forward. Meaning if you like changing a parameter, changing a like data structure, changing a protocol message, you will need to figure out how to make it backward compatible. Meaning like you will have a protocol version available to you, and if it's a before protocol version where you added, you will need to like implement kind of backward compatibility. There will be like few tools available, but just wanted to raise it to everyone, as it's like, it's a pretty major change from how we've been developing near core previously.
One thing related to that as well. Can we enforce that if builds are not passing and tests are not passing, that people cannot land in master? I don't think we are enforcing that right now. I think it will be a good decision.
We are enforcing this right now.
It's broken right now.
It's broken right now. So like, I don't know how are we really enforcing it now. Yeah.
I think we didn't enforce build to I don't think we checked that they can successfully build. It's probably like problem with CI that we should add. We only run the cargo check, which I think it doesn't actually generate the object file. So yeah, we should run cargo build as well, I guess.
Because yeah, it will be easier to catch these kind of things earlier, and then like if we have a protocol change like today, we cannot revert the diff because it's a protocol change, and then people build on top of that, and like it becomes messy for like even backing stuff out and figuring out it just becomes more complicated, I believe, even for debugging, and like we are gonna just fix forward everything, and that maybe
yeah, I mean, just I don't think this is I mean, like literally we have like 7 rules that we are right now enforcing, and we just didn't enforce that we actually can build a binary.
Yes.
Like, because we build a binary for testing. Like it's not like we're not doing it. We're just not building release binary right now. And what failed is release binary.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
like test binary succeeds. You can see it in like, we literally have 3 tests that build test binary and run it.
Oh yeah, I see.
Actually,
makes sense. Yeah, I see.
We never had the release binary failed before. This time it's like a Rust bug, Rust C bug.
Yeah, so I mean, we can add the release binary test as well, but yeah, it is a pretty rare that test binary builds and release binary doesn't.
That's true. No. I agree. My bad. Yeah.
I think this problem should be resolved if we can actually move back to stable, because I think for nightly there is no guarantee that it works without major problems. So
yeah, with Rex, the issue of building on stable, it's not there yet. Like we cannot do this because
I think there's some Wasm dependency that still relies on nightly.
Yeah, it's going to be fixed. I'm keeping conversation with Wasmer on this issue. They are slowly resolving, and it will require Rust 1.45 release, which will be stable in June or something like that. So there is no other way around. I also want to raise the question, like the awareness that during the last week, Betanet was failing twice, and we had to do hard forks outside of our schedule. We need some training on that. We also need to better understand how make a decision whether hard fork is the only way we can go with. We discussed it with the team, but I guess we need more people be aware of such cases and help there probably.
Yeah, I agree.
So one thing I was thinking about, we have the postmortems today. I just wrote a postmortem template. I extended the current one we have. I was thinking can we schedule a meeting, if there is an issue, like the last week we had two breakages in Betanet. Can we schedule a meeting for the postmortem review the week after if there was an issue, just to discuss this, figure out what would be the action items, and how do we document the stuff which was broken? So if it happens again, we can debug it instead of trying to, blindfoldedly figure out what's going on.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, it shouldn't be everybody. It should be just people who were involved in the issue and people who resolved. So we will not, will not bother everybody to come to these meetings. It's just people who were stakeholders in the issue, I think, if that makes sense. If everybody is fine with that. Yeah. Is everybody fine?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm gonna take it to schedule these meetings this week, and
Thank you.
That's it. That's all from me.
All right, just use as a good example here, what Ilya is talking about how we're doing upgradability now. That is a decision that has been made in this past week, and Ilya's focus has been on implementing that over the past few days. So thank you for that. Let's make sure we include DevX here too. Peter, you want to talk?
Yeah, sure. So a couple of things. One, we should be fully finalized on the very basic token standards that we've been working on for a while now. So those are shipped. Examples should be pretty much done. As of end of last week / middle of this week, I think there might be a few cleanup pieces of that. But that'll be pretty interesting to take a look at if anyone from the community is here working on token standards. Anyone internal, any core contributor wants to mess with tokens, going and trying to implement that would be really helpful, and poking holes in it and then figuring out what the first extension we would want to add to it would be really valuable. Second thing to know is we're doing an experiment in embedding partner engineers. So that's someone on DevX who's working in engineering is going to work with a partner in our community who's trying to actually deploy to mainnet, and we're getting that going this week. So should be really interesting to hear about the outcome in about a week, see how that goes. So that's it, high level.
Right on, thank you, Peter. All right, are there other issues or other items or anything else that anybody else wants to bring up today? Okay, I want to stress again, if you have a project, you're a project owner or project manager, and you use GitHub, and you're the maintainer of any of those projects, I really want to encourage you to utilize ZenHub and start using estimation in order to create charts so that we know exactly what you're shipping and when you're going to ship it. And if you need help, that's the best way for us to understand exactly where you are in your project. So please try to adopt the technique that has been done by Chain and Middleware. It's been fantastic. It's been helping us set expectations with our partners and our software community. It's essential that we have excellent top-notch communication, and these are the tools that enable us to do so. Also, I want to encourage everybody again to go to the stand-ups, and I know they're asynchronous and all, you don't have to be there in person, but I mean, go to is just like, hey, take the time to just tell everybody what you're working on. It happens at least twice a week, Wednesdays and Fridays. Each team has it, a DevX stand-up, we have a marketing stand-up, we have a business development stand-up, we have an engineering stand-up. Those are things that are critical to help everybody else understand exactly what you're working on. Communication is essential when we're all distributed and we're all running through virtual Zoom meetings. So please take the time to do so. It really does help out. It helps me out as a manager because I have to constantly query to see what everybody is working on. And if I can drop into those async updates, it's much easier. Also, if you can give links to stuff, things like bugs that you're working on or major documents to describe what you're working on too, those are really helpful inside of DevX updates. I'm sorry, not DevX, but stand-up updates. All right, are there other issues and things that everybody wants to talk about today? All right, like I see everybody staring up at the ceiling. That's good, that means they're thinking about it. All right, let's have a great week this week. Thank you, everybody, and let's keep hacking. Talk to you later, bye.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.